Welcome to the Safety Break, the Whitewater Rescue Podcast. We're here to share stories of real river accidents and rescues and find expert advice on how to solve the problems you might encounter in the Whitewater River environment. I'm your host, Jack Diddy, an emergency medicine physician, whitewater paddler, and wilderness medicine educator. Together, I hope we can celebrate successful rescues and learn from our mistakes in a supportive environment. If you have a story to share of a non-fatal accident or rescue, send me an email at thesafetybreak@gmail.com or contact me on our Facebook page, The Safety Break. If you like what you hear, hit the subscribe button and follow us on social media. I hope you learned something valuable in the show. The most iconic and visually spectacular rapid of the Green is, of course, Gorilla. It's a tall and consequential drop, with a narrow entrance slot of twisting current and then some potential for serious impact injury if you mess up the main part of the falls. It then flushes into a series of fast, shallow slides. It's a hard rapid to run even on a good day when you're fresh and feeling on top of your game. But in the race, you arrive at Gorilla after about 3 minutes of the hardest anaerobic exertion and mental focus that you can imagine. The saving grace at that moment is the huge rush that you get from the thundering roar of the crowd surrounding the rapid. People are balanced on every rock in sight, packed shoulder to shoulder, trying to get a glimpse of the drama unfolding in the water. It's an awesome and overwhelming experience. The other saving grace is that the Green Narrows race has a really great team of volunteers to provide a safety net for the racers. Most of these folks are seasoned Green Narrows paddlers with significant rescue training and experience, and a strong familiarity with the particular hazards of the Green River. This helps to take a little bit of the load off the racers' minds and allows them to go fast and take chances, as they say. And if you happen to be one of the swimmers below Gorilla, dropping into the Scream Machine slides, you might be very happy to see our next guest. He'll probably be the one reaching out his hand to try to keep you from drifting further down into the rocky chute at Nice's Pieces. Andrew Grizzell has been one of the longest standing safety crew at the Green, stationed on the Big Rock Island in the middle of the slides. Many people call that thing Grizzell's Rock. He humbly suggests that it should really be called the Saluda Boys Rock, as it's a team effort with him and a couple of others from that area. One more thing you should know about Andy. If you ever get a chance to paddle with him, chances are you won't see him very much. He happens to be a world champion squirt boater, with the mystery move as his specialty. Fortunately, I caught him at some of his rare time above the surface to chat. So welcome, Andy. Thank you for joining us here.
Yeah, I'm Andy Grizzell from Columbia, South Carolina. I've been kayaking since like the mid-early 90s. I'm a fair weather squirt boater, so I usually maybe start like late April, usually around Earth Day, and go towards like maybe the end of September, last couple of weeks of golly season.
So you've been one of the longest standing members of the Green Race safety crew. How did you get involved in river rescue initially?
I took a river rescue class when I was 16, I believe, through our local paddling club here in town with a guy named Kelly Fisher and Shane Williams that used to work for the NOC. They came down to Columbia and taught us river rescue class in our own on our own river, which was a lot of fun and very informative. Since then, I've taken different classes. When I was in school at Brevard College, I took a swiftwater rescue class. I've taken probably three or four like ACA swiftwater rescue programs, over the years through different things. Been to the Whitewater Center and took a week-long class up there through work. I'm a park ranger for the city of Columbia, and I work on the rivers here in town. And so I work with the fire department as well. When they have river rescues on the river, I help them out, whatever accident scene they have at the time. But I also help them with their training in the springtime. So I do that every spring. So it's almost like every spring I get 5 days of river rescue practice training.
So that sounds like a huge volume of training compared to most paddlers. How did you get involved in the green race?
So my role at the green race is I hang out on a rock in the middle of the river below Gorilla, Niece's Pieces, Scream Machine, with a crew of 2 other guys. And every year is a little different. Some years we get a lot of boats, and so we're just picking up pieces as they come by. And every now and then we get a big fish. And our main role is try to keep paddlers, safe. If they come by us and they're in trouble, it's probably because they usually got beat down in the Scream Machine hole, and then they're about to go down the rest of the slide upside down on their head. So we try to get them back in the fight upright, maybe where they can catch their breath for a minute before they carry on, or roll them up just so they can see the next beating coming.
So usually to get your name on a river feature, you have to royally screw it up. But this rock in between Scream Machine and Niece's Pieces pretty much bears your name now because of the positive contribution you've made there, helping out there for so many years at the race. When we were talking earlier, though, you said it should be called the Saluda Boys rock. Who else is helping you out there?
It's not a one-man show. It takes everybody to make it happen out there. And we have 3 guys on the rock. My brother Curtis, he's kind of like, he oversees like the big picture of things, like if my buddy Blaine and I are working on somebody or trying to get somebody, he's kind of keeping an eye on us and keeping an eye on what's coming downstream in case more action comes in. I'm tethered into a rope that will let me go down the top half of the slide and just pendulum me right into an eddy. So it seems like a pretty wild ride, but it's really not that bad. But a lot of times people, thankfully they try to roll a bunch, and sometimes they always wait to the last minute to swim. And usually the last minute to swim is right before they go down the next slide. And so I try to jump on them, grab them, or try to roll them up. Or a lot of times we roll them up and they're already falling out of their boat. And so sometimes the boat's between us and them, or we get them and then the boat comes and hits us and we can't hold on to them. So they end up going for a big ride down the slide, which I know the top half's not that bad. I haven't swam the bottom part yet. I don't want to.
So can you describe your setup there on the rock a little bit?
So yeah, we're on this rock that is fairly big. It's probably the best seat in the house, I think it is. Kind of the main reason we do it, because we get a good view of the whole race, and we don't have to do it with the crowds of people on the other side of the river. But we're on a rock. On the back side is another smaller rock that the big rock is sitting on. And in years past, we'd go in on Friday afternoon and set up our setup. And so we would usually try to weave this rope around between the 2 rocks to make a loop that we could clip into. So we did that a bunch. And then after a while, some years there's a lot of wood jammed in there and it's hard to find it or get it in there. And so we ended up installing like a 3/8-inch cable behind the rock that just like a small loop that goes around it. It's not anything excessive, flapping around in the water. Probably thousands and thousands of people have paddled right beside it and never even noticed it. It's pretty tight to the rock. So we just, on Saturday mornings, we get in and we just, we have all our ropes figured out from years past, and we just clip them in. And, we have different ones one for myself to be clipped in, one for Blaine to be clipped in. I want to say my brother's clipped in too. And then we have a couple that we use that we can throw to a swimmer that's tied off, and everything's tied off. And then ones that we can hook boats to, so if we get a boat and a person, this, that, and the other, everything kind of has its place. But, we don't have a lot of room on the rock either. So it's like when it gets busy, it gets busy out there.
And are you on a fixed line or is somebody belaying you?
Like on my rope that's hooked to me, I usually go out and test it to make sure that it's not going to go past the eddy. If I get swept down, I'm like kind of the last one on the line. So if I go, I'm not going to like just clean sweep the rock of everybody else on there with my rope. So it'll go and reach the eddy that's halfway down the second part of the slide on the right. And then until I need to make a move to get somebody I have a prusik attached higher up the rope that I have clipped to my life jacket. And then as action paddlers, racers start getting closer to us and somebody's getting worked over in the hole, and it looks like we'll have to do something, I will go ahead and unclip the prusik from my life jacket to where I have the freedom of movement to jump in, grab somebody. Blaine, the guy that's down by the water by me, will pull me in, will pull me right back to the rock unless we're kind of going around the corner. If we're going around the corner, he just lets it go, and hopefully we're able to hold on to the racer and get him back in the eddy. So it's a pretty dynamic setup, but super easy, super simple. And so over the years, we've always just tried to improve upon what we had the year before. My buddy Blaine works for a zipline course. They build zipline courses for a living, so he has all these, rope ideas that we think about, or, using the ascenders to help pull boats up instead of letting them slide back down, because a green boat full of water weighs a lot. And I'll let you guess how many of these racers have airbags in their kayaks. I mean, NRS is like a big sponsor of the race, I think, and they make airbags. So I think it's maybe something that John Grace and them could add to the registration packet is at least one airbag per racer.
Yeah, those long race boats are not light when they're full of water. So how do you decide when to jump in and pull somebody out, though?
Some people think it's unnecessary about jumping in the river and grabbing somebody, and then you have two people in the water. But you never know what's happening to them. Like if they're upside down in Scream Machine and getting beat on, or they're pretty out of breath, and they're pretty. Every swimmer we've pulled in, they've just been like kind of like, woo, I don't know what's really going on. I'm spent, out of breath, and they have zero energy, So anything that we can do to get them out of the water faster is good with me. I feel fine.
Are most people grateful for the save, or do they wish they'd kind of had the chance to get it together themselves?
Oh yeah, they're all like they're all super grateful and very happy. Some of them are upset, Well, not upset at us. They're happy we got them, but a lot of them are upset about crashing in the race, or I mean, it's a big crowd out there. There's 1,000, 2,000 people down there, and their grandma's probably watching at home on the TV, and by then they're like, oh yeah, okay, it's just a game, and everybody tries super hard, but it's just another reason to come back next year and try it again. You can't win them all, but you can swim them all though too.
Yeah, I imagine that's a bittersweet moment. Your green race dreams are crushed, but at least you're coming out of there without an injury, hopefully. So maybe a little bit of relief. So what motivates you to keep coming back year after year?
Some years the race is high action, and it's a lot of fun, and it's not a lot. I mean, as much as I want to see everybody succeed at their goal, and paddling and finishing the green race, I want to see people crash and burn, because the sun never shines on the rock at Scream Machine. It's always in the shade. The sun reaches about 6 inches from the edge of the rock, so we're constantly in the mist of the falls, and it's always cold over there. No sun, so if you're just sitting there, not doing anything, it gets cold. But if there's a lot of action, a lot of swimmers, a lot of boats coming, you're up and moving around, it makes it a lot more fun. So seeing action is kind of why we want to do it, to help people out. But I think I want to say Bobby Miller took a swim. I guess it was out of the hole, and I jumped in, I grabbed him, and somebody snapped a picture of him, and he's like trying to climb up my body as we're like going down the slide, but he has this just look of sheer terror, to the point where I think his wife took the picture and superimposed it onto a sweatshirt and a tie for him to wear. And I was just super, super excited that I don't think I was able to hold on to him. I think when I grabbed him, I grabbed his jersey over his life jacket lapels, but I was super fired up about it because it was Bobby Miller, the zone dog, I grew up as a kid, reading his articles in AW magazine. So I was like, oh man, I was zone dog. And so that was a good one. And then, there's how they pit people in the race. However you finished last year, if you finish first or whatever, you obviously start first. And then the slower racers are at the back, or the caboose is what we call it. And so usually our action starts maybe the 50th racer. The first hour sometimes is like pretty boring. And then as the caboose gets closer, action usually picks up. And so a couple years ago, we're like, well, we're going to be on our feet later. So we're just going to like hang out on this rock and just enjoy the show and watch these like high caliber paddlers come by and just, smoke the course. And all of a sudden, Eric DeGiel comes down and swims right in front of us. Caught us totally off guard. I want to say he was the third racer. And we were just like, oh shit, what's going on? We're like, we weren't ready for it, because it was the last thing we ever expected, was that somebody that high up in the starting order was gonna swim in front of us. But we got him out, and he was pretty. We could barely understand what he was saying, but he was super thankful. Got back in and kept on charging. But yeah, we got a lot of boats. A couple years ago, we did pull out one kayak, and literally, like when we pulled the boat up and water started flowing out of the cockpit back into the river, like the sales receipt from like where this kid had just bought this brand new Stinger, like floated out of the boat. Brand new boat, toast. He can afford a brand new boat, but he can't afford a set of $35 airbags. We're on a mission to make airbags great again.
Yeah, I guess if you've got any questions about competency on the course, that may be worth heeding this advice.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, it's, you got Eric DeGiel swimming. I think we picked up my boy Gareth Tate one time out there a couple years ago. Jason Hale. We like the big fish. The big fish are the crowd favorites. So,
yeah, I guess it can happen to anybody, especially in that kind of setting. So there's so much anticipation and anxiety before the race for the racers. How about you, though? What keeps you up at night before the race? Anything you worry about specifically?
I mean, like, I raced one time in 2001, and just like a lot of racers, very sleepless night, because you're excited, you're nervous, you're scared, maybe you're just fired up. And I know that night before I raced, I was up all night. I couldn't sleep. And a couple of times, even with doing safety, it's the same thing. It's not being scared, it's not being worried. It's just like the funnest day of the year. It's like Christmas. It's this event it's super fun. You get to see all your friends. You get to do a good thing. You get to help out the community. But you're just like so excited about this fun-filled day that I like river safety and river rescue, and so it's like just a fun day of like testing your skills out and see what you can do, and just trying to help other people, accomplish their goals, or that didn't accomplish their goals, I guess.
So thanks for coming on here, Andy. I really appreciate you coming out here and telling us all about this. Before we go, what advice do you have for the racers that you might be fishing out of there this year?
Man, I mean, keep on swimming. Don't make me take a day off of work for nothing. Hopefully, spread out a little bit from the start to the end, not all at once. Blow your airbags up. And, I hope you like Busch Light.
So good luck to all the racers out there this year. Give it all you've got, and if you screw up, just remember that you've got some good people looking after you. Thanks for listening to all these episodes about the Green Race. It's been fun for me to hear about it from these different angles, and I hope you enjoyed it too. And thanks to Andrew Grizzell, Tommy Hillicky, Katie Dean, and Ilya Smirnov for coming on here to tell their stories. The cover photo for this episode, featuring Andy lending a helping hand to the Zone Dog himself in one of his finest moments, was provided by Todd McGinnis. I've received several interesting leads on some new stories. If this drought keeps up, I'll have plenty of time to work on it. So stay tuned and stay safe out there. Thank you for listening to The Safety Break, the Whitewater Rescue Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, hit the subscribe button and click follow on our Facebook page so that we know that you're out there. I'm also looking for more stories. If you know of an interesting non-fatal river accident or rescue, send me a few details by email, safetybreak@gmail.com. It doesn't have to be dramatic or life-threatening, just something that we all might be able to learn from. I'll see if we can turn it into an episode. Stay safe out there, and I hope to see you on the river.